I'd be interested to ask you about, we've been talking a lot about retention and format and making things as like good as it possibly can be for online. With comedy, the most successful comedians are not always the most talented comedians or the best comedians, or comedians that have the best jokes. Sure. So how does it work within the stand-up world of those that have become household names who are very, very funny, but there are also equally as funny people who are doing Jongleurs in Stoke? So what has been the...
Just going to bounce back in. There's no Jongleurs in Stoke. I just put my teeth on it. I liked it when it was a running joke and no one got off it.
So what has been the reason why some of those household name comedians have quote unquote made it and the ones who might not think they would have?
Well, I think it used to be a lot more of a meritocracy than it is. But as soon as you say that, you have to vector in all sorts of things about sexism, misogyny in the industry, class, social inequality. You've got to think. I forget who said it, but was it? Someone said, I'm more interested in how many incredible scientists the world has lost because they were enslaved and forced to pick cotton. So there are definitely huge macro arguments about things not being a meritocracy at all. So that said, I think that if you look at someone like Mickey Flanagan, who was brilliant for years, and people were tearing their hair out going, what? Every time I see him, he destroys. He gets carried shoulder high from the audience, figuratively, with his incredibly incisive and warm and brilliant comedy. Why isn't he famous? And then he got famous. And everyone went, well, that makes sense. Yeah. So that feels like the sort of the noblest route. You plug away for years. You keep writing. You stay good. You take risks. You be true to yourself. You do all the stuff an artist is supposed to do. And then it happens. Yeah. And then I suppose I wouldn't name anyone at the other end of it, but there will be people who are considered lucky in that they kind of lucked into a professional relationship which boosted them when they weren't really capable. I think that's within stand-up. The measure is definitely, can you turn up to any room anywhere and convince a bunch of people who don't know who you are to cry laughing, to do that thing which is like the contract is coming up next. This person, like all of the people coming up next, promises to make you laugh and then delivers. And then they have to walk on knowing that they've promised to make you laugh and then they have to deliver. So that's the more meritocratic side of it. And that is a thing which unites us all. And I imagine because the hard yards are so hard, the deaths are so painful that I imagine that contributes not always positively towards a sense of you are in the gang or you are not in the gang because you've been I was going to say blooded, which might be because I'm talking to you and I imagine a lot of people called Hugo, but you know what I mean. But there has been some sort of ritual element to have you done X Comedy Club in Plymouth, fucking hell, and then you share and you go, oh my god, or whatever it was. So that's one side of it. Then there are, right down the other end, there are very, very few people who are regarded as lucky. Almost no comedians are regarded as lucky. You might get comedians who arguably lucked into the right rhythm or the right system or the right platform just when it was going off, but they're not really lucky. Like Rob Delaney. I think of Rob Delaney, brilliant comic. He found his voice on Twitter, and it was a brilliant voice, and Twitter was exploding, and he got massive, and he also went out and gigged in the hard yards, and it's just fantastic. So you wouldn't begrudge someone like Rob Delaney any of his success. He's brilliant. And then I suppose there are comics who are understood to be good at the thing that they do, or there are comics who maybe, I suppose there's a sort of a middle ground of like either crowd work clips, clip farming. It's known disparagingly as clip farming, when you go on stage and deliberately, at the expense of the gig, you over crowd work the audience in order to get material for your camera set up at the back of the room. Apparently, I don't know this firsthand, but apparently some clubs in America have banned crowd work on that basis because it is tiresome for the audience to have comic after comic come
because
out.
They'll try 10 times and they'll get 2 clips out of it and it'll kill the room.
And that'll be a result for them, but it won't be for the room. Exactly that. Yeah, so then there's that. And then I guess there are comics who get big for doing a particular thing online, such as a talking head a white wall thing. I don't know if that means the same for you.
Like sketchy.
Yeah, sketches, person talks to person.
Yeah.
And those can be very, very funny, very nuanced. You think of someone like Josh Pugh, who does fantastic ones of those, which are just suffused with character and gags and authenticity. And he's also a brilliant comic. He's done the hard yards. So you go, that's great. Then there will be the other end of those, which are, well, this person is well known for those, but is given such a free ride by the audience that they have never had to do any hard yards. They've done some yards, good for them, but they've always performed to audiences who are already invested in them and love them, and so it's an easy gig.
Yeah.
So that is a brief overview, I suppose, of the landscape. So I think there is a sense that, or I don't know to what extent, I don't speak for anyone really. I'm not really in dressing rooms very often. I'm not really in any WhatsApp groups. My assumption based on the conversations I have and the things I see is that, broadly speaking, the circuit knows who's good and knows who's lucky.
Right.
And it used to be that you couldn't do it by being lucky. I'm just trying to think of an extreme example. Jack Whitehall, landed gentry, parents in the biz. He still went through trying different ways to be funny, turning up where no one knew him, working out what was his authentic voice, what's his persona. And that's something we could talk about in terms of YouTube. What's the reality of his relationship to us, and deserves everything he has, which is everything. But deserves it. So I think that it's almost like that's not the new way. That's probably the last 10 years as we've shuffled and readjusted and gone, I guess it's like this now.
Yeah.
The new way going forward, absolutely, is that if you look at who's on pick a big venue, the Royal Albert Hall, wherever, we all know you can look at it now and go, I've never heard of them, I've never heard of them, I've never heard of them. That doesn't mean they're bad.
No.
Fame is different now. Yeah. Fame is, and I've stolen this phrase from Finn Taylor, siloed, I believe that's the term. Fame is siloed. The algorithm is sort of separated everywhere. There are people who I assume everyone knows about, who I mention them and none of my friends know who I'm talking about. So doesn't mean that they're bad by any means, but I do wonder if that is the model going forward, whereby you grow your audience and give your audience what your audience wants from you, I wonder where the art goes within that. I know that's an open thing and it's not directed at you at all, but I think that it's that thing of don't give them what they want, give them what they don't even know, what they don't yet know that they want. Surprise them with something that was the last thing they were expecting. And that state of mind, I don't know that I embody that. I kind of aspire to it, I guess. But I think that seems in complete contradiction to the algorithmic model of optimizing for who clicked on that. It's confirmation bias. Do you know what I mean? It's like a performative version of confirmation bias, whereby arguably every motivational speech should begin with, the reason I'm the person that you're hearing from is because I was lucky enough or whatever. I went through all these experiences and came out on top. Now I'm going to tell you how I did it. But we all know that that's insane, right? Because loads of other people tried to do the same and didn't make it, and that's why you're not hearing from them. That model of, I know you know what confirmation bias is, I'm sort of slightly over-explaining that to the listener. But I think that I worry that if we continually optimize for algorithms, then it's a little bit like the confirmation bias of people just get served what they want, and we all end up like those little floating people in Wall-E on the spaceship just being fed yummy content that we like. And I don't know where that goes. I don't know if it's sort of alarmist or weird to think that goes to grey soup. On the subject of alarmism, I'm a big climate guy. I don't think it's got time to get that bad before something else bad happens. I'd be fascinated to know how long the internet lasts. That's not a sentence I've said out loud.
Gosh.
But I wonder how long the internet will last. I wonder, we're already seeing the sort of the superfication of Google. You remember when Google was good and it would tell you what you wanted to know, and now it automatically burns kilowatt hours in order to use AI to tell you an approximation of something that it is good again at the moment because that answer is above the adverts. Do you know what I mean? So,
the AI thing is now what Google was.
You could just put top 5 answers above the adverts. I mean, that would fuck their system. So, but it is what Google was. So I think that, the fact of AI now, you can, in 10 seconds, you can create 1 million web pages that spoof answers to the SEO, to trick the SEO, to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've started putting the word Reddit on all the bullshit articles now. So you find them when you search for something on Reddit anyway. So that model of like squidge Who knows how long the internet will be functional? If you look at what it used to be like in the days of, I'm going to say Usenet because that sounds right. I don't think I've ever, GeoCities.
Yeah.
I remember briefly engaging with GeoCities a million years ago. What the internet was then to what it is now is fascinating and better in a few ways and massively not better.
Yeah.
And if that's a triangle, the vanishing sort of point, the end of that triangle is interesting to me.